Greetings, educators, and welcome back. Today, I'd like to talk about guided reading, reading or phonics journals, and the fables and the poems that are used in the original open court system or program. To begin, guided reading. According to Marva Collins' writings, she did not agree with guided reading. She preferred teaching her class whole group to cut down on discipline problems. She believed that that was the best way to teach her students, and as we can see, she was very effective. Unfortunately, I am not able to teach my reading in a whole group setting. The county that I work in requires us to use the guided reading workshop model, which simply means we pull all of the students, the entire class, to the front room. I usually have a nice carpet there. They sit on the floor at the board, and I teach a mini lesson, which lasts for about 12 to 15 minutes. Then I excuse the students with a given task. They go back to their seats, complete the task, and I work with another group of students, a smaller group of students, to hone in on some of their reading needs. While I'm working with a group, I am trusting that the students who are not with me are doing what they are supposed to do. How that looks in my classroom is I work with a group of small students after the mini lesson, and the students who are not with me are working independently in reading that is just right for them and in comprehension that is just right for them. My phonics and reading are separate. Phonics is teaching the phonemic sounds that go with letters and letter combinations. Reading is separate and apart from phonics, and it is all about comprehension, my reader's workshop. So I have a phonics workshop and a reader's workshop. My phonics workshop is whole group because it may last only about 15 minutes. Now, when I get into the gold book lessons, the phonics takes a little bit longer, and it may last up to 30 minutes, but it's 30 minutes well spent. Once again, whole group. Then when phonics is finished, I go into reader's workshop, which focuses on comprehension. Now back to phonics. I have reading/phonics journals that I use, and I minimize some of the lessons from the original open court series. I print them, minimize them to 85%, pass them out to the students, and they glue them in their journals, which is just a composition notebook. And we read those lessons, those phonics lessons together. I may model read to them as well. And later, that phonics glue-in will go over into reader's workshop, because while the students are independently working on their own and I'm working with a separate group, they can reread the phonics lesson for that day in addition to reading the books that are just right for them. And those books are hanging in a bag on their chair. They're not somewhere else in the room, because I don't want children walking around during reader's workshop when they should be reading. So here's an example of some of the lessons I may print out for the phonics journal. Just to go back, again, type into your search engine, Original Open Court Phonics Program. Scroll down to the icon where there's the blue book, the teacher's guide, and the gold book. Click on the link. Again, everything is on one page, conveniently placed for you. I'm going to look at lesson 45 from the gold book and show you exactly what I print out. First, as you can see, There is a YouTube video link for the Phonics word wall card, which gives part of the story that is related to that card. Also, it is printed above the phonics card. Yes, the picture may not match the sound initially, but if you read the story, it will all make sense. I always print out page 3 or page 4, which are the word line words, and that's what I use at the board for my word work after I chant with my students all of the phonics word wall card sounds. I print this page out just for me so that I will have a guide and I'll know what to write for that day on the smartboard. Okay, if I scroll down further, page 5. Usually there's a page like this with all of the words that I had in word work. I will print this out for the students, minimize to 85%, cut it out so that it's already cut for the students around the edges, and so all they'll have to do is glue it in their reading/phonics journal. This is something that they can read on their own independently during the reading workshop time. Okay? In the goal book are also fables and poems. Miss Marva Collins used these fables and poems to help teach her students how to behave, how to react to certain situations, how to think about things. Fables have a central message or lesson or moral, and students must be taught to have morals as well as the information they need in order to learn how to read and to write and to calculate. You must combine that with a moral structure. And this is what I like about the original open court system. It includes fables that are systematically aligned to the lesson that you are teaching and to the lessons you have already taught. So the students can read these on their own. Now, this would be a page that I would print out, minimize to 85%. We would read this as a class. I may model read it. I may read it with the whole group all together. I may close read where I read part of the sentence and I point to the students and they read the word that I'm on. We would discuss the moral of the fable and I would relate it to something in their current lives, something up to date. So they could refer back to that fable and maybe when a situation arises in their lives, they'll draw upon that fable and that moral so they can approach that problem in their lives in a more thoughtful way. Here are poems as well that are aligned systematically to the lesson. This is page 7. This is also a page that I would print out, minimize, pass out, and the students would glue into their reading and phonics journals. I encourage my students to learn I encourage my students to learn the poem and recite it from memory to their classmates at the end of the week as well, or whenever they have the poem memorized. Some of my students ask to take their journals home so that they can work on memorizing their poems. And as long as they bring the journal back, I have no problem with that. Miss Marva Collins also emphasized that the students read and learn poetry and recite from memory to their classmates as well. If I go back, lesson 45, you'll see that there is a story attached to this lesson. And this is also something that I would print out, use the snipping tool for through your windows, copy and paste on a Word document, print it out from that Word document, cut it out like a book and staple together and pass out to the students. Make sure that as those books get thicker and thicker, and they will, sometimes the staple may stick up a little bit on the back side. You don't want your students' fingers to get cut. So I started using some tape, duct tape, to cover up those staples on the back of the book so that the students wouldn't get hurt. And as the books got larger and larger, I would just not even cut it up like a book. I would keep the page whole, like you see here, and staple in the upper left-hand corner all of the papers together. Because at a certain point, you may not be able to get a normal size staple through these books because they become so language rich and word dense. Okay, I don't copy these words because the words on the pages of the book print out just fine and the students can see them just fine. Okay, that concludes what I would like to share with you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me through YouTube. Thank you so much for your time.